So the importance of following the rules and regulations properly is highlighted in the purport today. Prabhupada is explaining, in the society, the different varnas and ashramas are there. Everyone is supposed to follow their prescribed duties and prescribed rules and regulations. The different prescribed duties are there for the Brahmanas, for Kshatriyas, for Vaishyas, for Shudras. And similarly, there are prescribed duties for the 4 ashramas. What brahmachari is supposed to do, what grahasthas are supposed to do, vanaprasthas, sannyasis. And then there are different rules and regulations. They also differ. Say for example, as a businessman, Vaishya, he can speak lies when he is trading in the business. But Brahmana cannot tell lies. His rules and regulations are different from that of a Vaishya. So prescribed duties are different, rules and regulations are different. And all these are meant to make person Krishna conscious. Say for example, students in class 1 and students in class 10, they are different. The knowledge given to them is according to the level of understanding they can have. Right? When a person is in 10th standard and when a person is in 1st standard, the level of maturity, understanding is different. So the knowledge given in 1st standard and the knowledge given in 10th standard is a lot of difference. So similarly, when a person is in lower stage of life, when a person is afflicted with tamoguna, when a person is afflicted with rajoguna, rules and regulations are different for him. So for a Brahmana who is in sattvaguna predominantly, rules and regulations will be different. Person who is in lower modes, rules and regulations will be different. But all these are meant to gradually make one advance towards spiritual life. Similarly, you can find in ashramas also, prescribed duties are different. Grahastha has to take care of his family. That is the prescribed duty. He has to make arrangements so that their material necessities can be satisfied, and as well as spiritual arrangements are there so that the whole family can advance in spiritual life. For a brahmachari, prescribed duties are different and he has to follow certain rules and regulations. Brahmachari cannot even, we were hearing, Brahmancharati, that is brahmacharya. He is always to be in Brahman, absorbed in Brahman. He cannot even think about opposite sex. That is brahmachari. That is rules and regulation of brahmachari. So similarly for grahastha, the rules and regulations are there. He can be associated with a woman with rules and regulation. Brahmachari cannot be. So Prabhupada is saying in today's purport, sex life with one's wife is equal to prostitution if rules and regulations are not followed. So even in grahastha life, if rules and regulations are not followed, then that is as good as prostitution. Similarly, in brahmachari life, if rules and regulations are not followed, then Prabhupada says he is not brahmachari, he is mithyachari. Similarly, in a sannyas ashram, if one does not follow the rules and regulation, then the Vedic literature describes that he is called Vantasi. Vantasi means he has renounced everything, but once again he eats his own vomit. We vomit, we give up certain things, undesired things from our body, that is vomit. But if somebody once again goes and eats it, that is called as Vantasi. So every ashrama, every varna has different prescribed duties to follow, rules and regulations to follow. And the goal is gradually to advance towards spiritual life from wherever different levels they may be in. So, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that there are two processes to be followed in devotional service. So I want you to recognize these two processes from this verse in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Ataha chitta samadhatum na shaknosi mai sthiram abhyasa yogena tato mam ichhaptum dhananjaya. What are the two processes of devotional service mentioned in this verse by Krishna? Ataha chitta samadhatum na shaknosi mai sthiram abhyasa yogena tato mam ichhaptum dhananjaya. Krishna says.
Practicing rules and regulations have been established. Now there is
advanced devotional service and practicing devotional service, or in a more appropriate word, it is spontaneous devotional service and devotional service in practice. Sadhana bhakti and raga bhakti. These are the two processes which are mentioned. Raga bhakti means the person has come to a certain level of spiritual consciousness where there is no question of following rules and regulations. Like we see the example of Madhvendra Puri. Madhvendra Puri says, Sandhya Vandanam Bhosnanam. He says, let me adieu, goodbye to Sandhya Vandana, or even to take bath different times in a day. Because a lot of rules and regulations are required to be followed. We have to do 3 times Gayatri or Sandhya Vandana. We have to take bath at least minimum 3 times in a day, right? So Madhvendra Puri, he is already on spontaneous devotional service. He says, why I am giving up? Because anywhere I sit, I can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So for a person who is spontaneously attached to the Lord, he doesn't require to follow any rules and regulations. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was advising Haridas Thakur that Haridas, you don't have to follow. You are Namacharya, you are the authority of the holy name. You don't have to follow prescribed number of chanting the holy name of the Lord. Because 24 hours actually you are remembering the Lord. But Haridas Thakur, he would not. Until and unless he would finish his prescribed number of quota of chanting the rounds 300,000 times, he would not even take food, water or any other, or even he would go to sleep. He wanted to set the importance of sadhana bhakti. Actually, he did not have to follow all these rules and regulations. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur or Srila Prabhupada, they don't have to chant 64 rounds. But still, they would in order to make us understand the importance of following certain rules and regulations. So when a person is on spontaneous platform, rules and regulations do not apply to him. Rules and regulations are useful to bring us to the platform of spontaneous devotional service. Because one may wonder why these are required, why we should follow. Isn't it? So Prabhupada gives a very wonderful example why rules and regulations are required. Rules and regulations are required because when a devotee is on the platform of spontaneous devotional service, he is in his natural healthy position. When we are not in spontaneous devotional service to the Lord, we are in diseased condition of life. This has to be understood. When the hand is spontaneously serving the body, when all the parts of the body are serving spontaneously, the body, they are in healthy condition of life. Imagine you are going and your eyes gives you signal to the brain that in the front there is a pit. It's in a healthy condition. If the eyes are not able to give that signal to the brain, or the brain is not able to give that signal to the body that I should not go front, there is a ditch now, it is in an unhealthy condition, it is in a diseased condition. Right? So, spontaneous devotional service to the Lord is our healthy condition. Every living entity is supposed to be spontaneously attached to the Lord. That is our original position. But now, in our diseased condition, we are spontaneously attached to sense gratification. Now, what is required? Naturally, we were attached to Krishna. Now, naturally, we are attached to Maya. This is an unhealthy condition, disease condition. So, what is required? Some force is required now. Some bala, some kind of force is required, that now we have to lift the senses, we have to disengage the senses from some unwanted things and re-engage them in service of Krishna. And that is called as tapasya. That is why rules and regulations are there. Now, Prabhupada explains rules and regulations are of two types and both are important. We will try to understand why rules and regulations are of two types. Rules and regulations are, Prabhupada in a very simple terms explain, some do's, some don'ts. Some things we should do, some things we should not do. Because certain things you do will help you to come out of diseased condition and engage you in healthy position. That is do's. Certain things are required so that you don't fall back to diseased condition once again. You see? Do's are required to recover and engage you healthily in healthy condition of life. Don'ts are required so that you don't fall back to diseased condition of life once again. So both are very important. Just like, let us see some very interesting examples of do's and don'ts in devotional service. Rupa Goswami explains there are 6 do's which are very important, which will make your devotional service progress. So these do's, we should do them. Then he says there are 6 don'ts, 6 things which are not supposed to be done, if you do them, you will fall back from your healthy condition of life once again to diseased condition of life. So let me see who remembers. What are the 6 do's Rupa Goswami gives for increasing our devotional service in leaps and bounds? If we do them, devotional service will increase in leaps and bounds. Utsaha, Nishchaya, Dhairyat, then Tat Karma Pravartanat, then Sangatyago Satovritte, Shadbhir Bhakti Prasiddhyati. Very good. So 6 things are enthusiasm, Utsaha, Nishchaya. What is Nishchaya? Determination or confidence. Dhairyat, patience. Then Tat Karma Pravartanat, following the prescribed duties. Then Sangatyago, that means don't be associated with worldly minded people. Sato Vritte, and always follow in the footsteps of great devotees. Sato Vritte. These 6 things will make our devotional service increase more and more. So Rupa Goswami very nicely explains, devotional service when we perform, it should not be done mechanically. Our life, our heart should be involved. When our heart is involved, that is called Utsaha. Everything in devotional service should be done with enthusiasm. When we are chanting, it should be done with enthusiasm. When we are doing kirtan, it should be done with enthusiasm. When we are hearing Krishna Katha, it should be done with enthusiasm. Just like we see the example of the sages in Naimisharanya. They are not satisfied. They want to hear more and more and more. That is called enthusiasm in hearing. When we want to devotional service, we should be ready to do more and more and more. Why? Actually, we should be like a greedy businessman. Just day before yesterday, I had gone to one of the shops, one of our congregation member. So he was explaining that how when he came to Hubli, he was working somewhere in one of the shops. And then gradually, he took leave from that shop and he started with a very small business. Then from 1 he increased to 2. From 2 he increased to 3. Then he increased to 4, 5, 6. Now I think it is 6th or 7th shop he has opened in different parts of Hubli and Dharwad. Big, quite a big shop it was. 3 floors of shop. And then I was explaining there that just like we find businessmen sometimes, even at around 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, when they are just about to close their shop, if they see a customer, they will still be interested to keep it open. One more customer has come, let me make some more profit. So like that, we have to be enthusiastic, we have to be greedy in devotional service, to make our assets more and more, to increase, like Rupa Goswami is saying. So with these 6 things, our assets in devotional service will increase more and more. So these 6 things we should try to follow. Utsaha, lot of enthusiasm. Nishchaya, determination, that sometimes failures will be there. So we should not become impatient at that time. We should still be determined. That doesn't matter. Krishna's mercy will come. Krishna is very kind. So with that determination, we should keep on moving ahead and ahead. Learning from the failures, Keeping the failures as a stepping stone, Prabhupada says. We should not fear the failures. We should utilize them. If we don't learn from failures, then they are failures. If we learn from our failures, then they become stepping stones to our success. So, determination, patience, and then giving up association with worldly minded people and following in the footsteps of great devotees. If we follow this, our devotional service will increase. Then what are the 6 things which Rupa Goswami suggests? These things will decrease our vinashyati, it will destroy our devotional service. Anybody knows the shloka? Where it starts from? Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha jan sangasya lolyams shadbir bhakti vinashyati. So 6 things destroys the bhakti. Atyahara means either eating more than necessary. When it comes to eating, atyahara, ahara means actually eating. Actually, Rupa Goswami explains it is the mentality of getting more and more. So he is addressing both. When it comes to eating, it is eating. When it comes to getting sense gratification object when one wants more and more, that is also called atyahara. Collecting more than necessary is called atyahara. So that is also detrimental to our devotional service. When one becomes busy in collecting more than necessary or eating more than necessary, then one falls victim of atyahara. Prajalpa, wasting time in unnecessary, unproductive talks is called prajalpa. So devotees are advised not to waste their time in idle gossips. They are called Gramya Katha. I was reading one article in Back to Godhead magazine. We have to shift our Gramya Katha to Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha is transcendental Gramya Katha. Gramya Katha, actually it's a word from Sanskrit. Gramya means village talk. Generally, nowadays we see village talk means it's all gossips basically. So Vrindavan is also Gramya. So we have to shift our talks from this kind of mundane Gramya Katha to spiritual Gramya Katha. Isn't it? So Prajalpa is another detrimental, it is very detrimental to our devotional service. Prayasa, unnecessary endeavor to obtain something which is difficult. Let us say one devotee thinks, I will make lot of business, I will earn a lot, and then I will donate to the temple. Unnecessary kind of endeavor, taking up unnecessary endeavor. So, prayasa, then niyamagraha. Niyamagraha is also of 2 types. Rupa Goswami explains. One is following the rules and regulations to the point so much that we don't even understand the purpose of following the rules and regulations. That is also called Niyamagraha. Just like famous example we all know, in Krishna Leela, the Brahmanas were following that Niyamagraha. Krishna personally sent his cowherd boys to beg food for Krishna and Balaram who were hungry in the forest. And Brahmanas, they were reluctant to give, saying, no, first we have to offer it in oblation, in the fire. We have to offer it. Krishna is offering directly, he is asking that, offer it to me. No, we have to offer it to fire. It is offered to fire to offer to Krishna only, and Krishna is coming directly. So that essence they have not understood why rules and regulations are required. So they are following so strictly, they forget the principle, the goal of following the rules and regulations, they forget. That is the whole thing. Isn't it? Another is to be avaduta. I am not ready to follow any kinds of rules and regulations. So Prabhupada said, don't imitate avaduta. Jada Bharat was avaduta, Nityananda Prabhu was avaduta. We cannot follow them. That I don't have to follow any rules and regulations. Isn't they are on a transcendental stage. At our stage, either not to follow at all or to follow without knowing the purpose. That is both called niyama graha. So that is also detrimental to devotional service. Then jana sangha, associating with worldly minded people, that is also detrimental. Then lolyamscha, to be greedy after sense gratification, that is another disadvantage in devotional service. So we can see there are certain positive things to be followed, there are certain negative things which we have to not follow, which we have to refrain from. So do's and don'ts we will always find. So similarly, in Krishna consciousness also, we have these different do's and don'ts which will help us to not fall back in the diseased condition of life and to be engaged more and more properly in spiritual, in our healthy condition of life. So these different rules and regulations will help us gradually to advance towards our spontaneous, loving devotional service once again to Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita there is another verse which explains that civilized human beings should follow different kinds of rules and regulations. Prescribed rules and regulations are there. One who does not follow any rules and regulation, even after obtaining human life, he is termed in Bhagavad Gita as demoniac. Krishna explains two kinds of people. One who follows Shastra Vidhi, he is a civilized human being. One who does not follow Shastra Vidhi, that means the rules and regulations given in the Shastras, he is called Asuri Bhavam Ashrita. He is of demoniac nature. So demoniac nature people, they will not be able to advance. They will actually rot in this material world, life after life. So actually rules and regulations are meant to come out of this diseased condition of life, so that gradually we can advance in spiritual life. We'll stop with this. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.